are these podcasts? WATP.
From Surviving the News, Phil Elmore is joining us. What's up, Phil?
Hey.
How's it going?
Going all right. I'm getting over a slight cold, so I apologize if my dulcet tones are slightly less dulcet.
All right, put on your masks, everyone. We might get COVID right now. So, Phil put out a couple of videos about Stuttering John, and I have to admit, I was captivated. I was watching it this past weekend, the first one, and you were breaking down all the things that are going on with Stuttering John, and I was agreeing with everything that you were saying. I thought you were spot on with your analysis. It appears that you're paying very close attention to what's going on. And you've been doing streaming for a long time on various subjects, obviously. And I think this was kind of your first foray into the Dabbleverse. Is that true?
Well, it's your fault. I discovered Uncle Rico through you. I don't remember how I found Who Are These Podcasts, but I've been a fan for a while.
Oh, cool.
And you mentioned Rico a few times, and I'm like, I should check that out. So I listened, and I enjoyed it. And that sort of area of that segment of the universe of the constellation of podcasts that orbits Stuttering John is what has been giving me the most entertainment recently. So I do a couple of podcasts, and one of them is a news and commentary podcast that until recently nobody listened to, and now it's nobody plus like 50 people. And it was just my way of forcing myself to do something fun, because I spend all of my time in this office. I write for a living, so I'm always here. So I'm like, you got to do something fun. This is sort of like work, but it's not work. So this is you having fun. And eventually I got so annoyed at everything that was happening in the Stuttering John-overse that I'm like, I have to talk about this. So I did like a special episode where I talked about that. And then more stuff happened, and I was even more annoyed. So I started talking about it more, and then people started noticing, and now I'm trapped. Like, I can't stop doing Stuttering John content because there's people who are now listening specifically for that. But it's still interesting.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I know that the people who were listening before, who just enjoyed me talking about, like, oh, that Obama, he was a stinker. Like, I know that they're probably wondering when the Stuttering John stuff will stop, but it's just interesting. It's a train wreck you can't turn away from.
Well, you said this on your show, and I agree with this. You go, I'm watching this for fun, and so I feel like I can talk about it, and you know it very well, and you articulate it very well. And it's amazing when you get to watch stuff that you enjoy, and that's your job. I don't get that very often. Unfortunately, I have to watch shit I hate, and that's my job. But it is a great thing when you go, I'm watching all these shows. I'm keeping up on this. I got some thoughts. I'm going to spew them out. And a lot of people have taken notice. Bob Levy, obviously, taking notice. Yeah. But you know that he's watching. So I wanted to ask you, I have a few questions, but I wanted to ask you about my latest theory on Stuttering John, what your thoughts are about this. The last episode we did, and I recently put out a YouTube video where I have this new theory that what John is doing is he's purposely being stupid, even more so than he actually is. He's leaning into this stupidity and putting together all these very clippable moments for everyone, knowing that everyone's clipping his show nonstop, so that one day, not long from now down the road, he can say, I was trolling you guys all along. I'm not really this drunk and stupid. This is just a thing. No one is this dumb, and joke's on all of you. What do you think? Do you think he's playing a long game here?
I think you are giving him way too much credit. I don't think there's any human being who could pull off this Christian Bale twin brothers magic act long con game. Like, he's going to get to the end of his life, and when he's lying on his deathbed with his liver on life support, he's going to go, just one more thing. It was all an act. This was the only way. You must tell the people.
Yeah.
So
I do remember there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't see any way it's possible.
Yeah. Remember, though, before he went away, there was a series of events that were so bizarre. He kept, like, coming out with his shirt on backwards or inside out.
Or he would shave half of his mustache.
Yeah. What the fuck was that?
That was literally him trying to do that, but it was too obvious.
Right. That's him trying too hard. And I do think if anyone ever calls him on like the Mensa membership or the 160 IQ, his response will automatically be, well, if you took me seriously, you're a moron. Of course I was joking. It was all a bit. But that's only because he knows he eventually will get caught.
Right. It's similar to Chad Zumock, where he's like, well, I know I was lying, but I always tell the truth eventually. Yeah, but you wouldn't have.
Right.
If
You
Melton
get
hadn't
away with
called
it
you
until you're
on it.
busted.
Right.
That's how it works.
Exactly.
I don't think Chad thinks that far ahead. I think he thinks only in terms of the short-term lie. Chad is the Jack Bauer of podcasting. If Jack Bauer had like a traumatic brain injury.
Okay. I was gonna say Jack Bauer's pretty impressive. Okay.
The thing that made Jack Bauer so compelling as a character was he would do anything for a short-term goal, even if the long-term consequences were like prison, everybody dies, your family's being kidnapped. I don't care. I have to take this whole convenience store hostage right now so the satellite can fly overhead. But
Right.
Jack, you'll go to prison. I'm not thinking about that right now. So I don't think Chad thinks that far ahead.
So John has this new thing, this new angle he's taking. And I think that Kevin Brennan planted this seed into his head, and John's taking it and running with it, where he's got this cyberbullying lawsuit, or there's like a law around. I haven't really looked into it because I don't take it seriously. But what he's saying is, because Shuli and myself and Bob are goofing on a guy who has a disability, there is a case. And he's trying to say that his stutter is a disability. What's your thoughts on that, Phil?
Well, it fails on multiple levels. The first level is he's clearly not disabled, or at least not in any way that we would conventionally define it. His stutter does not in any way interfere with him, and in fact, it's the thing that he's been billing himself for and building his career on all this time. So it fails on that level. The other level on which it fails is he's trying to redefine hate crimes, essentially, so that John can say and do whatever he wants,
Right.
but no one can ever challenge him or question him or criticize him, or
How
else they are
convenient.
by definition violating some policy. And he'll report you to the entity known as the LGBTQ, just some amorphous entity
Whatever that
floating
is.
around in the ether somewhere.
Yeah.
Hello, LGBTQ? He said stuff. He said stuff.
He's literally done that to Anthony Cumia, and he tried to do it to others. Yeah.
The only arena, the only venue where this would get any traction is if he's able to convince the notoriously unhelpful people at big tech, YouTube or whatever other platform, Patreon is another one.
Yep.
If he's able to convince them, then yes, he can get these people deplatformed. I've tried to say, like on Twitter and elsewhere, if you open this door, and he did it by saying gleefully that he couldn't wait to contact Shuli's new sponsor, as he's contacted other sponsors, you open that door, you guarantee that anything you do will be targeted. It'll
Yes.
go both ways.
Yep. It's the old saying, what comes around goes around. And I said this about Kevin Brennan when he was celebrating Shuli's network getting taken off of YouTube for 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't know why we're celebrating this. We're all on YouTube. This is not something that any of us should be celebrating when people get their channels struck or any of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
So
this platform is shifting sand. It's an entire
Right.
business and income built on shifting sand at low tide, and they can take it anytime they want.
So basically what you're saying, if I could equate this to a fun fact about me, I was born club-footed, as I've mentioned, and John brings up quite often. If I were to then win a marathon, I cannot talk about how, well, they're making fun of me because I'm disabled. John might have a stutter, but he was the announcer for The Tonight Show. He was signed on Atlantic Records with a record contract. It's like, well, obviously your stutter has not led to any problems in your professional career.
Well, it goes a level beyond that, because if I say, Carl, you suck and your teeth look funny, and you go, is this because of my club foot? It's just as logical.
All right, that's too far, Phil. You're out of here. Jesus, I didn't know he was going to make fun of my teeth. You're blocked. Blocked.
Right, we are no longer best friends.
I love when Phil calls John a cry bully. He's the definition of a cry bully. Go ahead. Can you explain that a little bit?
Funny.
Well, I didn't coin that term. A cry bully is somebody who cries out as they strike you. He meets that definition to a T. He is antagonizing other people. He constantly threatens other people. He's always challenging everybody to fights, because clearly, if you and I disagree about anything, even whether or not you are funny or I am funny, the way we determine who is funny is by punching each other. Clearly, that would solve this issue.
Yeah, of course. Makes nothing but sense.
Right.
So I think I actually can articulate what the real end game should be for Stuttering John, because as you've pointed out many times, Phil, he hates being made fun of. He hates being the butt of the joke. It bothers him endlessly. The more he says he doesn't care, the more it proves he cares about it. This gets to him on every single level. This bothers him every single day.
He was streaming just today, and he said something like, "You're not the one who's getting beat up every day." And I'm like, you're not being beaten up. You're being made fun of. There's a distinct difference.
And you'd think he'd be used to it.
But that's the thing. He likes to go back and forth between, I don't care, this doesn't bother me, I'm the GOAT, I'm the one that I'm the reason why this all exists, I'm obviously the best, to I'm the victim and I'm getting beat up and I need the Disabilities Act and all this kind of stuff. So the real end game in my mind is he needs to come out, be totally honest about how badly he screwed up his life, admit that he needs help, and actually, if he came out and he goes, you know what, I've been, this false bravado is not working for me. I'm obviously hurting inside. I'm drinking away my life right now. It's not going well. He doesn't say he's drinking too much. I don't care what he says, but he can just say like he's lost control. He's lost control of what's going on. He could be a sympathetic character that would disarm everyone immediately.
You think he would get made fun of less?
Yes, I would. I mean, if John came out and was just like, guys, I fucked up in life. I've lost everything. Yeah. I had a great gig. I had a family. I've lost everything. I'm in this shitty apartment. I have to go turn a wall unit on for air conditioning. The things aren't going well. I'd be like, well, what are we going to laugh at now? I don't know.
But he can also just go away and not read the internet and pretend it's not happening.
Interesting you say that, because that option is now gone. He got fired from his job. His only way of making an income, because the political show no one gives a fuck about, he's terrible at politics. Yes. So his only scenario for him is to lean into the Dabbleverse and to play along with the Dabbleverse, because he does get 300, 400 people watching his show. I'm sure, I didn't watch it today, but I'm sure there were people super chatting him and he was making money as he's doing his regular thing. Like, that's his only option now.
It's his easiest option.
He could split the difference. As has already been suggested, he could do IRL streaming and we could all watch the train wreck that is his life, because his inability to cope with life is fascinating to watch. But for anyone to do that, they would have to be able to acknowledge that people are looking to laugh, not looking to adore him. And his need for adoration is what spurs a lot of this behavior.
See what I'm saying? This guy, he's got it all figured out. Yeah. So I was watching this the other day. I'm like, all right, this guy is articulating this very, very well. And so John's got quite the conundrum on his hands. And it's got to be a very frustrating place to be right now for him, because, one thing he could do is go back into like some type of
Uber,
job.
Something, yeah.
Right. Some type of profession, just suck it up, be like, okay, this isn't working out. Get off the internet, work a job, which he did for 8 months. And people stopped talking about him. Mm-hmm. Dabblers Anonymous was not active. You know, people started to go away. And then he came back to the internet. He came back. I predicted he'd come back much sooner because he needs the attention. He craves the attention. He wants to be famous so bad.
He didn't just come back. He came back sitting on 8 months of pent-up rage. I think that was even the title of a video that either you or Shuli did about it. Yes. And it's because that whole time, he wasn't leaving the internet alone. He was watching and, I don't know, keeping a list of, I'm going to get him for that, and I'm going to get back at him for that, and, he don't get to say that about me.
All while he's grading papers.
Right. Oh, and that's a B, and that's a B. Have I told you about the dues payer?
Yeah.
What?
That is, it's so interesting right now. And I know that he's like overexposed at this point. And even I struggle with Stuttering John segments because there's so much that happens. By the time we edit the show and put it out the next day, 5 more things have happened in the Stuttering John universe. And
don't put out a video on his best friend. You'll be wrong.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to last very long. So even I struggle with, like, what's the Stuttering John segment? It's still fascinating. It's still very interesting. It's still unfolding in front of our eyes. He's overexposed. He's not only doing his show, he's sniping shows in the morning where he's not turning on his camera because he's probably doing it from bed. He is going on other people's shows for a couple $100 and getting drunk. It's just like nonstop Stuttering John content that you could easily pick apart. I think Uncle Rico did 5 parts on that drug stream that we watched in Detroit in real time. We're like, whoa, what is going on right now? So there's so much to talk about. And I actually had an idea here. And, I'm going to bring in Cardiff too, because he might want to get involved in this. I don't know. I
World's
don't know where
foremost
Cardiff.
potato.
I don't know where Cardiff is with all of this stuff. What's up, buddy? Was he not paying
hi.
attention?
Oh, I was editing.
Oh, okay. You looked like you were watching the show very closely. You were just editing.
This
No,
is
once
an
I saw you had Mean
achievement as
Doug on, I stopped watching.
well. I am such a huge fan of Cardiff. To be able to share a screen with him makes me very happy right now.
He didn't say that about me, by the way, when I brought him on. Cardiff,
I was
just so you
thinking
know.
it. I told you that you're the reason I'm here.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I've been a big fan for a while.
I appreciate that. That's very cool of you.
Hi, Phil.
And it turns out
Hey.
that Phil and I live very close to each other, which is this weird center of the
do.
Dabbleverse actually
Apparently,
exists.
if any of the tendrils of the Dabbleverse extend to you, without your knowledge, you have just gravitated towards others, like, I don't know, molecules with free electrons just seeking each other out.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, right.
Stole my
Exactly.
thunder again. So the reason why I brought you on, Cardiff, and Phil, as we're talking about this, here's an idea. And I'm going to throw it out there. There used to be the Stern Fan Roundtable.
Yes.
What if we did a weekly Joe roundtable discussion, and we maybe bring different people in, but all the people who are paying attention to the Dabbleverse. So Phil, Cardiff, myself, you guys, we bring in Shuli, Levy, Mike Morse. I mean, there's so many different people. Obviously, Tookie's
Yeah, you're going to take
gotta be
Tookie
there.
soup is what you're saying.
Well, no, I'm not even talking about playing clips. It's a very different. Oh, Jesus Christ. You speak his name and he shows up. He's like the candy man. What's up, Tookie? Oh, yeah. So, Tookie, I was just talking about an idea to do like a weekly roundtable because there's so much going on with Stuttering John, and you can try to look at all the subreddits and you can try to watch his stream from time to time, but there's so much going on. Wouldn't it be fun to bring in 3, 4, 5 people and do a weekly discussion about what's going on in the Dabbleverse, what's going on with Stuttering John, and some kind of roundtable thing? And it's not playing clips. It's not doing this typical show. Like, it's kind of like what we're doing now.
It's a meditation on
It sounds,
psychosis.
it sounds like the behind the scenes thing that the guys at the Daily Wire do, where they get them all and sit them down in a room and they talk very intelligent thoughts. This would clearly be different than that.
Yeah, no, there'd be no intelligent thoughts going on unless you're there. But yeah, I'm thinking that might have some legs to it. I think that would be the one thing that all of the Dabbleverse needs to tune into to find out the weekly roundtable. We take comments, we take suggestions from people, read the chat.
And it'd be easier for 5 people to keep up with all his antics
Right.
and everything.
The
that-
Joey C. Shark puppet gets the final thought.
Are you pitching Stuttering John this week, brought to you by stutteringjohnlive.com? Get your tickets now.
That's not what I was pitching. What I
Oh,
thought was we could replace Yo Remember the 90s on Friday nights with the Stuttering John roundtable.
Oh, that's a good time slot.
It is a good time slot. There's no competition. No one's watching anything at that time.
Well, Monday nights are available now. Subreddit surfing's dead.
Dude, I heard you got demonetized today.
What?
I wasn't going to bring it up. I didn't know if it was a secret or not, but that
No,
sucks.
no secret. It does suck. We're appealing.
Did they give you a reason or?
Just very vague. That we violated their policies on some bullshit. Mostly clips. It was the issue. It looked like, but
Yeah.
It's a good thing I don't play clips. Jesus.
no.
I'd hate to get demonetized.
Be careful, Carla.
That would be bad. All right. I do have something else I want to get to. I want to talk about this whole controversy over buying views on the Shuli Network. This is the big news right now that's happening. I want to get into it, but I do want to thank my friends at Magic Mind. Real quick, I have to do the Dick Show crossover later tonight, so I'm going to do a quick shot of Magic Mind. They are a sponsor. We thank you for that. MagicMind.co/WATP. Use the promo code WATP for 20% off. But the reason why I drink this is because it helps me function as a person.
Yeah.
You might have noticed I brought this to Detroit with me.
That's what I was going to say. Carl had the exact amount of Magic Mind bottles for every single day that we were in Detroit in the fridge. So
Yes.
he leans into it that much. Yeah.
I know this is an incredibly dark thought, but if that were to have just poisoned you, it would be the most baller thing that has ever happened on a podcast. Just like I'm taking.
Also,
Everyone
the
drink
funniest.
the Kool-Aid. No, I forgot it in Philadelphia. I mentioned that. I forgot to bring my Magic Mind because I always forget something.
That's why it was such a shit show.
Philadelphia was great. I mean, it could have been better. If I had my Magic Mind, it would have been better. That's for sure. But I remembered it in Detroit, and it really does help with my morning routine. It just gets my brain functioning better. It's got a little bit of caffeine, not a lot. You can still drink your coffee and everything like that with it. But I definitely recommend people check out Magic Mind if you haven't already.
How much does it cost? People want to know, Carl. Do you know?
Well, you can get up to 50% off if you use the promo code WATP and sign up for a subscription on magicmind.co/WATP. All right. With that, I want to talk about this specific thread. I don't bring this up very often, but there's a thread in our subreddit that I want to address here. Let me bring this up on the screen. It says, can't wait to hear Carl's take on Rob accusing the Shuli Network of buying views. Just kidding. Carl's a pussy, and we know he won't discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
You call me a pussy?
What's the matter, McFly? Chicken?
Yeah, I know. That's the best way to get me talking about something. So let me tell you what I know about this. I don't know everything there is to know. Phil knows some things. You guys might know some things. Apparently, Chris Abels and Rob Saul were working at Levyland or working on Levyland, and they worked with some third-party account to get views. Rob Saul went on Misery Loves Company this week with Kevin Brennan and came out and said that. And so now it's like this whole thing like, oh, the Shuli Network's buying views and it's all fake and they don't really have an audience.
Yeah.
So have you been following this at all, Phil?
Abels directly refuted that. He said that he was working with a marketing firm of some kind to advertise the podcast, kind of like boosting a post on Facebook, that kind of thing. Nobody bought any views. Everyone involved has said, no, we didn't buy views. And Rob is apparently just saying, I think they bought views because I think so. Like, there's no actual evidence of this, but the accusation keeps getting repeated and repeated and repeated because the point of repeating the accusation is to smear them. It's to say that any success that the Shuli Network is having must be coming in some nefarious manner because we don't like them and we don't understand how somebody could enjoy, or a whole bunch of somebodies could enjoy somebody we don't like. That's all it is.
To that point, I was checking out Nobody Likes Onions, Patrick Melton, and he was talking about this, and he had a very similar take.
And you're behind
on
the
this.
8 ball because we don't even know that they were doing it. We have no proof. At this point, I want to make this clear. We have zero proof that Shuli or Bob, for that matter, or producer Joe or anyone at the Shuli Network other than Chris Abels was buying or possibly buying views. Okay? Let me word it like that. We have no evidence of anything.
All right. So Patrick Melton, who doesn't have a dog in this race, is saying, look, there's no evidence of any of this. Kevin Brennan's coming out and saying all this stuff, and people are latching onto it because they want it to be true. And what I think is funny is I thought Patrick Melton did a great job presenting this. It takes him a long time to get out all of his points, unfortunately. So
7-hour show, Carl. He's got to stretch a little bit.
It's unfucking believable.
Can I ask just to what end? Because there's a barrier to entry to monetize, but having a bunch of views is mainly useful to sell ads, and they don't have ads. Right?
They do have ads.
Oh, do they?
They have sponsors. Yeah, Rustic Cuts, and they have a couple other ones.
All right, you can tell I watch it all the time.
For that to be a factor, the amount of views you would have to buy would be cost prohibitive. Any advertising revenue you brought in by buying that number of views already went out your wallet when you bought the views. It's ridiculous from a mathematical perspective, and from a practical perspective, it doesn't get you anything.
Phil, that's a great point. That's the Jerry Banfield method. Jerry Banfield tried to buy his way into internet success, and he found himself $700,000 in the hole. Not long after that. I was in marketing, digital marketing for many, many years. And if this was a model that anyone could employ, we would all do it. Just buy views and sell advertising against fake views. Great.
It's adjacent to paid traffic, which you understand if you did internet marketing. But paid traffic only works if the amount of money you're paying results in more income than what you paid to get the traffic. And then you have to weigh, was it worth it?
Precisely.
What is so hard to see here? Chris Abels bought views to try and impress Shuli. It's obvious.
Well,
Yeah.
so there is a perception side of this, Tookie. We are going to get into that because you're right. There is a reason to buy views if you want people to perceive your show as being bigger than it actually is. Now,
People don't know this, but Tookie has an MBA.
Tookie's a very smart puppet. That's for
Hope
sure.
that means mild brain
Trying
aneurysm.
So
Or massive. Sorry, massive.
I love Patty's take on this here.
Travel this. I'm trying to put it together. Let me make this very clear. This is dumb. This is gay, and this is dumb. None of this matters. At the epicenter of this, the most serious thing is Shuli and his entire team were buying views for their channel. That could be the most serious this could be. I'm not saying they did. I'm saying at its most serious, if everybody's guilty of everything they've been charged with, Shuli bought views for the network. Okay? And that amounts to dog shit. That's nothing. Who cares? Who cares? Fake it till you make it. Troll Kevin with viewers, whatever. That's the most egregious thing we're talking about here, okay? So literally on the scale of seriousness and how non-gay this is, it's a 2. It's a 2, okay?
So
Howard Stern doesn't even want to watch this.
that's how gay this is. Can't even get an erection. He's flapping his taffy around to it. So now Patrick Melton used to be on Mizzo's Company every Monday. And then after Atlantic City, he tapped out and he's like, I'm good with this show. But he's a fan of Kevin Brennan, as am I. I've said this many times. I think Kevin Brennan's very funny. I don't know if I'll ever be back on MLC again, but I enjoy him. He doesn't like me anymore. But I did like this take. I thought this was pretty funny.
This is gay. This is all very, 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 very gay. Brennan said they could get shut down for a terms of service violation. Why risk it? Brennan's an idiot. Brennan doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Brennan also thinks I'm interested in suing Butch Bradley for him saying I moved here. Brennan's out of it as fuck. Brennan has no idea what's going on. Nobody's suing Butch Bradley for that. So Brennan thinks he's at a 10 or 11 on understanding what's going on, and Brennan's actually at like a 2. Brennan doesn't know shit.
That is a good point. Brennan is kind of out of it when it comes to all of this shit. And, you know, I like talking to a guy like you, Phil, because you're able to very quickly understand that the model doesn't make sense. So none of this makes sense to do this.
Well, it all makes perfect sense when you realize it's just a smear campaign. Now, it's a smear campaign that John wasn't smart enough to come up with on his own, but now he's repeating it.
Right. So getting back to the point that you were making, I think, Andy, or somebody was making, a caller calls in and says, well, maybe why they're doing this is because they're always talking about going on a tour and doing live shows. If their numbers are higher, they can get a better rate when they go to a comedy club or wherever they're going to do a live show.
Counter that with, look, when I do, look, people want me to do Onion Con. They want me to throw an event here in Vegas. I'm considering it. We're thinking about it. But the problem is, you know, I don't think I have enough fans to do an event that'll draw 200 people out here to Vegas. I don't know. Maybe we will. And look, maybe if I team up with Shuli or with Kevin or with Bob or with WATP or, you know, whoever, maybe if we all get together and throw one big event, you know, it'll be great. And we will draw, you know, decent numbers. But it's those kinds of things are so hard to anticipate and guess. And I definitely know this from touring in LO back in the day. I mean, I've done shows within LO, Europe, around the world. When my podcast was very, very, very big back in the day. And even if you're approaching 100,000 listeners worldwide, getting them to all convene in one location for a show, it's tough. Right. You're going to get 100, 200 people. Like, it's not.
Well, that's my point.
So look, though, but what I'm saying is you get a door deal. Like any of us, if I book out a comedy club and I'm going to book a venue or something like that, I want a door deal. I'm going to sell the tickets and I get all the money from it. The club's going to get the bar. That's going to be the deal. Anywhere I go, that would be the deal. So it's shooting your own self in the foot to inflate your numbers. You're not fooling anybody but you. You need to sell the tickets. You need to get the money. You have a door deal. So I don't think. Look, I understand that the broad reason you would do it is perception, right? For whatever the reason, you want someone somewhere, you want them to think you're more popular than you are. We can agree on that.
So he's exactly right about this. I've done a number of live shows now, and yes, having an audience gets the venue booked. So we've been able to play like the Magic Bag or, a couple of different places in Nashville, Chicago. But if we don't sell the tickets, we don't make the money, it's not a good time. Yeah. It's not fun to overpromise and underdeliver. That's not a good way to live your life. No. So pretending you have a big audience when you don't is not going to last very long. It's not a good play.
So what there'd be a lot of echoes in the room?
Yeah.
What's your point?
So what is the point of buying the views then? I mean,
there isn't one.
It's just,
right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Correct.
Why is it even an option?
It would be like if I accused Carl of hoarding vanilla ice cream. I know he's got a freezer full, that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Because you want people to believe there are more than 12 people listening to you, like Chad's football show today. 12 people, Chad! There were 12 people watching your stupid football show! Wow!
Well, to be fair, he is talking about a niche topic that nobody really pays attention to.
Yeah. There's only 100 million people watching football every week in America, so who would want to watch that?
There's the National Oil Can Alliance, and then there's, the ambassador from Kumia country.
No one's looking for Chad and Mazer and two other nobodies' opinions on the week in football? This is shocking to Tookie.
I do enjoy the sheer hatred he brings to Steel Toe, though. That's moderately amusing.
You appreciate what Zumac's doing with that? The Z-Man?
Yeah, and actually, coincidentally, I watched a video just last night from Melton that was like 45 minutes of him analyzing Aaron Imholt fighting with his wife on air, and I could not turn away.
If there's one guy who's an expert on Steel Toe, it's definitely Nobody Likes Onions.
Yeah.
He's spent a lot of time studying that. So one more clip that I want to play from Fatty Patty here, where he's precisely right about this. He's talking about Kevin Brennan and how Kevin Brennan changes his tune on how good somebody is based on whether he likes them at that time or not.
And the same goes for Kevin. Kevin watches my show making fun of Shuli, and he's like, Melton's smart. Melton makes a lot of sense. Melton's really good at this. Melton breaks it down like nobody else. Yeah, when I say the same thing about you, it's like Melton's mental. Melton thinks he knows what's going on. He's a fucking idiot. It's like, well, fucking pick and choose. I'm a genius all the time, and I'm rarely wrong. JK, I'm an idiot. Get out of here.
This is what I've been saying about myself. Like, Kevin Brennan's like, this Carl guy, he could be a lawyer. He makes great arguments. He's really good. And then as soon as I yelled at him for fucking up my Stuttering John interview, Carl fucking sucks. He's no good at this. Who would watch this show? And I just think that
an idiot.
Right.
There are two camps in the Dabbleverse. There are people who are willing to give credit where credit is due, and then there are people who will withdraw that credit when they're angry at you. And John and Kevin fall into that latter camp where, one day you're my bestest friend and I'll never, ever, ever turn on you. And the next day you had a guest on I don't like. It's now war. You've crossed the line.
But I don't understand the audience that follows along with that, because I want there to be some reality. If someone's telling me they think Patrick Melton's funny or they like someone else's show, and then as soon as they do something they don't like and they go, no, they suck, I never liked them, I can't watch that show anymore. I'm like, oh, so you're just lying to me? You're just trying to push an agenda that's all about you? And then, all right, then I'm out.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Not everybody has a long memory. There's a lot of people in the audience that are basically goldfish.
Well, and Misery Company also takes all their shows down immediately. So it's harder to find the archives of Kevin saying the exact opposite of what he's saying on the show.
That's good for a gaslighter.
Yesterday. Yeah, it is good. That is good for gaslighting, actually.
Who are these podcasts? WA